Shalom everyone, welcome back to Parsha Points and Parshas Toldot. Our Parsha discusses how Yitzchak and Rivka were praying for children. So Yitzchak went to one corner of the house, Rebecca went to another corner of the house. They've been married for 10 years, they don't have children. And finally, Yitzchak's prayers are answered. Yitzchak is a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik. So even though Rivka herself was a tzaddiket, but Yitzchak had more merits. He had his father's merits going into this. And Rivka sees that this pregnancy is not going the way she would expect. She's having more pain than she hears from other women as usual. So she goes and she asks one of the sages of the time, his name is Shem, and he tells her, God says that you have two nations within you. And ultimately, these two are going to be battling it out, and they're already battling it out. And it's going to be like a seesaw. When one is up, the other's down. When one is up, the other's down. They're not both going to be up simultaneously. This is the way they're going to function throughout life. And the older is ultimately going to be subservient to the younger. So Rivka knows the secret going into this. And when they're born, so Esav comes out so hairy, his hair seems like a goat. People look at him, he looks like one hairball. They call him Esav. He's a hairy one. And when he comes out, so his little baby brother, his twin brother Yaakov, is holding on to his heel. And he gets the name Yaakov, which means will ultimately overcome. Yaakov means either one who acts in deceit or one who will ultimately overcome. And until they become 15, they both seem like sweet little kids. They're growing up, and Esav has a very red skin, so his father's concerned not to circumcise him. Maybe there's something wrong with his clotting. And when Esav becomes old enough that they see he can handle it, so Esav says, don't touch me. So Esav goes through life uncircumcised. Now, when they become 15, so Esav starts showing what his true colors are. Until then, Esav was very busy showing how pious he was. And for the rest of his life, Esav, and this is a hallmark of Esav and his descendants, Esav is going to always be busy telling everyone how pious he is. And at age 15, he commits his first murder and rape and steals. And he overtakes Nimrod, that powerful king who had tried to execute his grandfather Avram. And he takes Nimrod's coat, which was stolen goods by Nimrod, but he manages to take that amazing coat that had been passed on from Adam from one to the other until Nimrod got his hands on it. And Esav murders Nimrod and takes that coat, and he's running from Nimrod's men. He comes into Yaakov's tent, and the same day Nimrod died, so Nimrod was the nemesis of Avram Avinu. Abraham also passed away that day. God had promised Avram that he wouldn't have to see his generations descend. And so when Esav becomes a murderer, rapist, thief, on that day he worships idols. Avram passes away before any of that happens. And so Yaakov is busy making lentils. His father is in mourning, and our custom is that when a person is in mourning, you give them round food to remind them that as difficult as the time is, this is a cycle that happens in the world, and that a person shouldn't be quick to speak at this time because they might say things they'll regret. So he's making lentils for his father Yitzchak. And Esav comes running in from the field. He's pretty tired. He's had a busy day, right? And he sees something cooking. He says, why don't you pour some of that red stuff down my throat? Doesn't even identify it by name, the red lentils. And from that moment, he gets a nickname. He's called Edom, the red one. And Yaakov says, you're the continuation of our family. Our grandfather Avram died today. And you're the firstborn. You're supposed to take that crown. You're the rep of the family. And Esav says, what good does it do for me? In my line of work, it's no great pride that you come from someone as pious as Avram and Yitzchak. I don't need that. Yaakov says, you want to sell it? Esav says, sure, you can have it. I'm going to die a murderous death. People like me, we never get very far. We don't have such long lives. So I don't need any of that. And it's no claim to fame for me. Yaakov says, okay. He gives him some bread. He tells him, we're going to make a deal. You're going to sign the dotted line. You're going to take a vow that I get the rights of representing the family, what's called being the firstborn. And then he gives Esav the lentils, and Esav walks out and he laughs. He tells everyone, look at what a deal I got. I had nothing. I would have gotten nothing out of it anyways. And look at that. I got a good lunch for it. And he downs all the lentils and he walks out. And he mocks the whole story. But really, he's given up his rights to represent the family. Yaakov is now the firstborn in the family. Now, there's a famine. Yitzchak starts migrating with the family, and Hashem tells him, don't go out of Israel. You're too holy for that. So he goes into Philistine territory, and over there, again, they're wondering who this woman with him is, and he says, that's my sister. And eventually, Avimelech, the Philistine king, goes peeking into their house, and he sees that the way Yitzchak and Yitzchak and Rivka are with one another, that's not the type of jest that a brother does with a sister. That's the lightheadedness between a husband and wife. And he calls Yitzchak out on it. And he says, why'd you tell me she was your sister? I might have made a big mistake with that woman. So he kicks him out of the country. And everywhere Yitzchak goes, Yitzchak starts redigging the wells his father had dug, because the Philistines, in their jealousy of Yitzchak, they keep filling up those wells. So Yitzchak redigs them and gives them the names his father did. Now, Yitzchak has a great relationship with Esav, because Esav always brings him fancy meats. And Rivka sees that Yaakov is the pious one. So at the end of our parsha, Yitzchak is approaching his father's age, and he realizes he might be passing from the world. He calls on Esav and says, son, I want to give you my blessings. And Esav goes hunting. And when Rivka hears this, she says, this is all a mistake. Yitzchak doesn't realize the pious one here is Yaakov. So Rivka tells Yaakov, listen, I have a prophetic vision. You're supposed to get these blessings. She remembers what she heard when she was pregnant. The one who's really supposed to run the show is Yaakov. So she rushes Yaakov to prepare the food, and she takes him by the hand and she brings him in to Yitzchak, and she coats him with the goat's hairs, because Esav's hair, I guess, was like goat's hair. And when Yaakov comes in, Yitzchak is already blind. And Yitzchak tries questioning, who are you? And Yaakov says, I'm your son. He is his eldest son. Yitzchak doesn't know that Yaakov's been given those rights. So Yitzchak gets the blessings from, Yaakov gets the blessings from Yitzchak. And as he leaves, Esav comes in. And Yitzchak says, who are you? And he says, I'm Esav, your eldest son. Get up, I got food for you. And Yitzchak says, wait a second, who came in here beforehand? You know what? The one who got those blessings, he deserved it. I saw God was with me when I blessed him. He's going to have those blessings. And I blessed him that you would be his servant, Esav. So Esav cries. And then Yitzchak says, look, if I got nothing to give you. And Esav pleads and he cries. And then Yitzchak says, okay, you will live on the sword. And when your brother loses his rights, that's when you will go up. And Esav's very upset. He didn't tell his father that he lost his rights because he sold it to Yaakov. He didn't say, I mocked my rights to represent the family. He said, I hate Yaakov, I'll kill Yaakov, and I'll make sure that I get the blessings instead of him. And it's at this point that Rivka tells Yitzchak, life isn't worth it if Yaakov marries women like Esav did. Do me a favor, send Yaakov off to Padan Aram. Send Yaakov off to my family, so I'll find a wife there. And this is Rivka helping Yaakov. She knows that Esav wants him dead. So she sends Yaakov off. And that's the end of our parsha, where Yaakov leaves, and Esav assumes he's only leaving to find a wife, but really he's going to go for decades to keep away so that he's safe from Esav's wrath. Have a good Shabbos.